Hi, welcome back to another episode of Dimensions with D. I'm your host, Danny. And for this episode, I'm going to be going into the second part of the Mask miniseries I'm doing. And I'm going to be talking about the next role I had in theater, which was the musical Grease. When I first stepped into the role of Vince Fontaine, I didn't realize how much it would quietly change the way I would see myself. On the surface, Vince is confident, smooth, and charming. The guy who controls the room without ever seeming rushed. But what I learned pretty quickly is that Vince isn't loud confidence. He's more grounded confidence, and that distinction mattered more to me than I ever expected. Portraying him forced me to slow down, trust my presence, and realize that I don't need to perform urgency or intensity to be taken seriously. Just showing up fully was enough. One of the biggest things this role gave me was a new relationship with being seen. I've always been someone who thinks deeply about speaking, sometimes to the point where I hesitate or second guess myself. However, Vince doesn't do that. He speaks when it's time to speak, not early and not too late. When he does, people listen to him. Stepping into that energy helped me realize that my voice has weight, even when I'm not trying to convince anyone of it. I learned how to trust silence, how to let moments breathe, and how confidence doesn't come from filling every gap, but from being comfortable inside them. Vince lives in conversation. He knows how to read people, adjust his tone, and meet others where they are. At the time, playing him helped me stop overthinking social moments and start responding to what's actually happening in front of me. I became more present in group settings, more relaxed in one on one conversations, and less focused on saying the right thing. I learned that connection doesn't have to be forced, it unfolds naturally when you stop trying to control it. Another huge takeaway was learning the difference between charisma and authenticity. I used to think charisma meant being being on all the time, like being witty, energetic, and magnetic. But Vince taught me that charisma can be calm and also warm at the same time. It can also be steady. Playing, portraying Vince Fontaine allowed me to experiment with charm in a way that didn't feel fake or exhausting. It showed me that I don't have to abandon who I am to be engaging. I just have to be comfortable letting parts of myself be visible. There was also something really powerful about the way Vince holds emotional distance. He's involved, but he's not tangled. He observes without absorbing, and that taught me a lot about boundaries, especially the emotional ones. I learned that not every situation requires my full emotional investment. That it's okay to care without caring everything. That sometimes the stronger position is being steady while everything else moves around you. Vocally, emotionally, mentally, and physically, the role pushed me to become more intentional because Vince often addresses the audience directly. So I had to be aware of how I stood, how I moved, and how I spoke. I learned how to project without forcing, how to be still without shrinking, and how to let my body support my words instead of distracting them. That awareness followed me off the stage into the classrooms, in the conversations I had, in the meetings, in all the meetings I've had on campus, and just everyday interactions with people. What surprised me the most, though, was how much the role reshaped my self-image. I started to see myself as someone who could hold attention without chasing, someone who doesn't need to rush connection or demand clarity right away, someone who can sit comfortably in uncertainty and still be present. Vince reinforced patience, not passive patience, but more confident patience, the kind that trusts timing instead of trying to beat it. Emotionally, this experience helped me express more freely without feeling too exposed. Because I was portraying someone else, it gave me permission to take emotional risks. And through that, I realized that vulnerability doesn't always look like spilling everything at once to someone or something. Sometimes it looks like honesty in small, controlled moments. Sometimes it's just allowing yourself to be seen without having on armor. Playing Vince Fontaine also reinforced empathy for me, for others, and for myself, and just in general, I would say. Watching all of the dynamics around me from his perspective helped me understand people's insecurities, motivations, and pressures more clearly. And at the same time, it taught me to give myself grace, to stop expecting perfection, to trust growth instead of instant clarity. Ultimately, what I got from this role wasn't just performance skills, it was perspective. I learned that confidence doesn't have to be loud, that confidence doesn't have to be rushed, that presence doesn't have to be forced. Vince Fontaine became a mirror that showed me a calmer, more grounded version of myself, one that I didn't need to invent, just allow. And that's something that I've sort of been carrying with me long after the lights dimmed. And I guess I would say, thinking back to wrap this all up, I would say, yeah, even though this semester just started in like, it's only been really technically just, well, I wouldn't say 1 week because it's, I guess, 4 days of classes on campus. I would say, I guess I could also count like all the game nights and netcons I went to. So I would say that like seeing how like I would say Vince Fontaine was kind of like a loner, like by himself. Like he wasn't really too people. Like he interacted with people, but it's like people didn't define who he was, or just didn't define him in general. And so that's I feel like I'm kind of coming back to who he was as a person this semester. Like I guess in terms of me being around other people and just trying to stay true to myself, I would say that's something I've been unknowingly doing, and I guess I didn't realize it till just now when I've been reflecting on my experience portraying him, which I think was, I guess, kind of it really interesting. I guess I would say because you don't really think about it during the moment, but until you're really intentional, and I think that's something that's like also happens during your prayer time or just praying in general with God. Just intentionality, I would say it's like kind of a key word. Well, a key word, a key thing for me for I guess this past month, and I guess going for this year. I guess it turns with me and other people because I've been seeing my goodbyes to people. I guess the ones I guess I would say I hold very up there. So yeah, that's something that I've been holding on to. I guess I would say. And so with that, that concludes this episode of Dimensions with D. I'm your host Danny, and a preview for next episode. Um, I guess I'm going to go back to the declassified college survival guide tips because when I was looking back on it, I realized that I didn't finish. Like I guess I forgot I was even doing them like at all, and so so when I look back at it, I realized I was like halfway done, and so I think I can like do do all the rest, and that could be like an episode, maybe back to the longer format, and so I think next episode I can like go ahead and finish that up, and so because I think that would be really helpful in bring that whole declassified college survival guide tips thing I was doing back full circle. and so and then the one after that, I'll go back to like the third musical I did, but I'll do a preview of that at the end of the next episode. And so with that concludes this episode.